Hello and welcome to From the Be-All End, and this is the debrief for Leeds United 0, Burnley 1. I'm Simon Evans, and with me is Justin Conley, Chris Bowden and Paul Woodhouse. Well, we were saying it's a tough place to go and we can expect a hard game. We got all that, but came out of it on the right side. Chris Bowden, your impressions of that rather retro Burnley performance?
It was good to have a bit of the old pragmatism back, wasn't it? But I think, my successor Matt Scrafton, in his report, sort of saying that the strong jaw is back in place, and it's just fabulous to have, isn't it? You've got sort of, it was one of those where even though Leeds were sort of knocking at the door, I never sort of felt that they were going to break through at any stage. And, Trafford's made three very good saves during the piece, but it was a strange sort of game. So, I mean, the best chance has come in the first minute, really, hasn't it? When there's a poor ball from Humphreys and Esteves got mugged on halfway line, and I still to this, how's Joseph missed that? He's not even missed it. He's slotted it well wide. He's nowhere near the target, and that sort of set the tone for Leeds, really. But as soon as Koleosho scored that fabulous breakaway goal, then I was pretty confident of prevailing. But good to see all round. Really, you'd like to have a bit more possession and a bit more threat, certainly second half. But Trafford, to give him his due, I think that's his best performance in a Burnley shirt. That's sort of typified by that the claim in the whatever it was, the 100th minute. But good to see all round. But even though, I mean, you knew we'd be down to 10 at some stage because the referee had started dishing out cards depending on what the Leeds fans were asking for at that stage. But we did the business, and considering the start we've had, I know that sort of Blackburn fans are still bleated. I wish we'd had two promoted teams in Bristol City at home so far. We've had Luton away, Sunderland away, Leeds away, and your biggest rivals at home. And I think the points return is rather pleasing.
Indeed, yeah. Woody, what were your impressions of that performance? I mean, it was a bit of an old school Burnley performance, wasn't it?
It was. It wasn't pretty, was it, by any stretch? But it's like everybody says, the idea to winning championships, if you can set up not to get beaten and then improve upon that, it seems that's what Scott Parker's trying to do. We were very, very difficult to break down yesterday. And to Chris's point, even though we only had 30% of possession and literally had nothing in the second half, did we? They still didn't exactly create anything of note really in that second half. I can only really remember one shot from outside the box which led to a decent Trafford save, but it took them a hell of a long time to work out to go around the outside and try and pull any balls across and whatever, and we managed to pull them into the middle, and we didn't look like we were worried. If anything, we got a little bit leggy. But the other good thing that I think about Parker is his game management, and at least he knows when to bring a sub on and the right subs and what to do with the game as it progresses in the second half. He doesn't just let things float, and he's not necessarily a reactive manager in that sense, as he would say. But yeah, I think Fleming looked very impressive up top, and I think him and Foster could bode quite well moving on through the season. I think we're going to have a nice problem of who we're going to put in the middle of the park when everybody's fit and firing. And defensively, we looked as solid against arguably one of the better, more creative sides who everybody's obviously touted for not just promotion, but winning the division at a canter. And we dealt with them relatively easily. So I think, all told, even though it was very unpleasant in large spells, if you go away to Elland Road and you come away with a 1-0 win and you're not complaining, I don't care what era of Burnley side you are, that's a good result.
Certainly is a good result. Justin, impressions?
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic performance. I mean, like Woody says, it wasn't particularly nice to watch, but it really, really annoys me when people say, try and make out that sort of defending and goalkeeping, or, you know, good goalkeeping, good defending isn't actually part of the game, and that you've cheated somehow if you win by doing that. You know, it was a great rear guard action, and the concentration levels all the way through, just fantastic. And I think you have performances like that in successful seasons, and you kind of tend to forget them. But in many ways, they're the most important ones, because if you can win games in tough to go places like that, however you do it, you know, it bodes really, really well for the rest of the season. I think. I thought, you know, there were some great performances. Some of the players that have been mentioned already. Trafford obviously had probably his best game for Burnley up to now. I thought Hannibal was absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely mad, isn't he? But he never ever stops running. And the shithousery when he got substituted off was just magnificent. I saw that tweet. I think Chris retweeted it this morning about why didn't he get a yellow card for all that? Because if he'd done that on the pitch, or, you know, but who cares? I mean, he was just happy to be going on with the 3 points, wasn't he? It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few outstanding individual performances in there, along with a solid team display. I mean, what did we make of Fleming playing? Really, our commentator on CBS was saying, "Oh, he's playing as a false 9." He was playing as a 9, really, wasn't he? He was just playing up front. Even though we've been told he's more of a number 10 attacking midfielder. But what were your impressions of him, Chris?
I thought he was very bored. Like, I've got to be honest. I thought the way he sort of drew free kicks from the Leeds back four all afternoon. You know, he's trying to link stuff up. He won his fair share in the air, and he's not the quickest, but he just gave us a presence that I don't think really like that Foster can give us. You know, maybe Jay on his better days now can, but he gave us a focal point, and you can see he's trying to link with Hannibal. He was bringing Anthony into the game, and it was just really encouraging. Given that, we're led to believe that we signed him injured, so he's had a couple of weeks to get up to speed, and he came through no problem. I didn't think he looked like he was sort of struggling at any stage, and we need to get another someone else on up there to help him out, to replace him. But hugely encouraging. I think you can see. I think he'll score a similar number to Barnes. You know, I don't think he'd be prolific by any stretch, but I'd also like to see him as a 10 as well, just operating off a front man. I think he's just got a bit of game intelligence, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Woody, who caught your eye amongst the team on Saturday?
Fleming definitely, because I wanted to watch him and see what he was doing, and that was his first game of the season as well. It wasn't just his first game for us; it was his first game of the season, and he struck me as being a very, very clever footballer as well. He very rarely wasted a ball or an opportunity. It seemed like he understood when he had to lay it off, who he had to lay it off to. He could play that little ball inside. He played a couple of those. He played like the blind out wide ball. He could use his head. He knew when to get a free kick. And I think, like everybody said, he's gonna be a better player as a 10. And if you watch his highlight reels, that's exactly where he plays. But I think some of his movement as well was one period in the first half, especially when he made this kind of darting run to kind of create space for almost himself, and found him having, ball went out. I think it might have been to Koleosho, and it came over, and he managed to get on the end of it. And it was just all the kind of little things that he was doing, which was extremely smart. He wasn't just being this battering ram, even though he's a big lad and he's extremely strong. And he probably should have gone down when he was on that one-on-one with Airfelter. But it shows what kind of strength that he has. And I think he showed a lot of promise, and I think he's going to be a great signing, an absolutely great signing. Hannibal, Steve, everybody said, that's the best Trafford's played. And normally when you give a keeper man of the match, it kind of indicates that we've been under the cosh, but we hadn't. We had played well as a unit in front of him, but everything that he did from that cock up right at the beginning, making himself big, because it was partially down to him putting Joseph off, but right up until that 98th minute, there was no flapping. Every single decision he made yesterday was absolutely spot on, and he executed it exceptionally well as well. And I think that was, like I saw somebody say on Twitter, that's when his balls dropped in the 98th minute, and he stopped being this youngish lad, and he looked, like a grown-up.
Yeah. Chris, I do want to come to you about Trafford, because I think fair to say that you had some doubts about him as a goalkeeper. Now, one performance like that surely doesn't erase all the doubts, but your impressions of that performance from him.
Well, he looked like he's described, isn't he? He's a 6'5" goalkeeper. He looked every bit of it. He seemed to sort of shrink last year. I mean, obviously, playing in the Premier League for the first time, it's natural progression. He'd had those loan spells at Accrington and at Bolton in League One, and still, for the life of me, I don't understand why. I mean, if Burnley had gone knock him 2 years ago to take him in the Championship, they'd have been able to get him from Manchester City. And he'd have had a year in the Championship then, but we ended up going out and getting Muric, which turned out to be an inspired decision. But I mean, as it stands, the Championship football is going to do him the world of good. But like Woody says, just staying big. They say. I mean, Joseph was absolutely woeful. He's absolutely woeful. But Trafford stayed tall, stayed big. He didn't commit. He just made himself a big barrier, and Joseph panicked and made a hash of things. But it was that, the save from Nonto. Nonto has to score, but he stayed big. There was, like I say, coming and claiming that and showing the confidence, the bravery and the ability to just come and pluck that, no problems. And I mean, I say shot stopping. He showed at times last year, particularly at Fulham, particularly at Brighton. I mean, goalkeepers are shot stoppers. That's what they do. It's the decision making that defines whether they're better than the next one. But like I say, his decisions were bang on, and it's a great platform. You can see he enjoyed it at the end, and there will be, Burnley fans will get behind him. Absolutely. Like we're talking about Trésor last week. If he produces, people will get behind James Trafford if he produces like that, and there will become a rapport with the fans. And it was really good to see. Promising.
Justin, I mean, is it a coincidence that we're seeing James Trafford look like an England under-21 goalkeeper when he's not having to play in front of a company defence and playing it out with his feet as much as he was forced to do last year?
Well, there's probably some truth to that, isn't there? It's probably the fact he's not. I mean, he's still being asked to play with his feet a little bit. There were a few moments when he had his foot on the ball and he was inviting a bit of pressure and then knocked it off to the fullback. It might just be a confidence thing. He's playing at a different level. The scrutiny in the Championship is not quite as high as it is in the Premier League. He's not facing, your Erling Haalands and your Mo Salahs every week, who quite obviously would have put some of those chances away that Leeds made on Saturday. I think it's probably just a combination of the whole thing, and hopefully that bit of extra confidence that he gets will see him go on to continue a decent run of form. I mean, his time last season must have been absolutely devastating to his confidence, especially getting dropped out of the team and the form picking up for the rest of the side as well. That would have been a quite hard thing to get through. But new manager, new system, new way of playing. It's like Chris says, he probably needs this. He probably needs a season in the Championship to get that confidence going, and then kick on again next season. So yeah, but I wouldn't. I thought he had it. I thought he did have the best game I've seen him play for us. But I wouldn't like to focus too much on individuals in that performance. It's quite difficult to pick individuals out when you've only had like 25% of possession, isn't it? It was a collective thing, wasn't it? The cohesion and the organisation is the thing that impressed me the most. And I just thought that was fantastic, and that's the thing that really gives me that first half an hour against Rovers when we played them off the park. That we can do that. We proved we can do that, and now we've proved we can win a game in another way. Which you need all these tools in your armory in the Championship, because you're going to be playing against different kinds of sides every week, and I think it's a really good sign that we've been able to mix it up a bit and get these results, especially after essentially playing with a completely new side.
Yeah, Woody, Scott Parker was saying afterwards that he considers that to be the platform for the season. That is the sort of marker of what is expected in terms of like the graft and the work and the collective attitude. It felt like that sort of performance, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's probably very fair to say that. And you could see at the end that it was one of those performances that they were all extremely happy with, because it was one of those that obviously it was something that they'd been working on for 2 weeks and they'd executed it. And they probably executed it more or less flawlessly in a lot of respects. And he had a smile on his face. Everybody else had a smile on his face. It was good to see when they were applauding the fans at the end that a few of the players pushed Parker towards the fans to take some plaudits. So, it's there's that cohesion, not just between players and manager, but with the fans as well, starting to develop. And like we said, it's not the prettiest, but we'll definitely take it. It is, like you said, that platform when you know that that's what sometimes you've got to grind that stuff out. And if you can do that against the best sides in the league, then like Justin said, that half an hour against Rovers, those other performances that we put in where we've blown sides away, the fact that we'll be able to do both of those things as required, hopefully, once everything's settled and we've worked everything out, it's what more really can you ask for other than for it to progress and to see what happens?
Any players leave any feeling of concern? For me, a little bit. There were one or two performances there that I thought Anthony struggled at times, looked a bit lightweight at times. I thought Pires gave the ball away quite a bit. Don't want to be negative, but to be balanced about it. Chris, were there any worrying signs there?
Yeah, I don't like to single anyone out when it's been a collective effort. It's been the units that's got the result. But again, I thought Anthony was hesitant out of possession. He was sort of unsure whether to press, whether to come and try and nick it, intercept a ball, and in the tackle a bit weak. But that's not his thing, is it? We want him to sort of to be creative, and the ball he put in for Lyle Foster a couple of weeks ago, and he got involved. He could have nicked himself a goal or an assist yesterday, but so we can't grumble on that front. And he put a shift in. But that's it. The only concern for me is Hannibal's going to get booked every week, and he's going to be suspended. He's going to be suspended by come the middle of this month, and but you would imagine he's going to be picking up 10 at some stage and pick up two games, etc. You can't. It's that age-old sort of conversation that, if you try and curb that, do you sort of take away from his game in that respect? It's like people used to say about like a Rooney or a Gascoigne. You take away that competitive spirit, that sort of that exuberance. What have you got left? And that's it. I thought he was terrific. His energy, his work rate. He's quite clearly bought into what Scott Parker's trying to put together, and he riles fans, he riles opponents, and it's just he's like a Junior Barnes again, isn't he? It's a great asset to have, and just to see the Leeds fans absolutely seething as he walked off. And it's just, even the Man United fans were delighted that he'd lapped it up at Leeds as well, weren't they? Which was good as well. But we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But then again, if he comes out, we'll only have to just put Josh Cullen into midfield, which is a blow, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, shithousery is back though, isn't it? Like we didn't have much shithousery once Ashley left, and last season really there was next to nothing where you sort of saw a player winding up the opposition fans or even with Fleming, his ability, as was mentioned earlier, to get free kicks by backing into somebody and falling on the floor. That was pure Barnes, wasn't it? But it is good to have a bit of that spirit back. I mean, it's quite impressive, Justin, to me. I'm interested in your thoughts on this. That we've sat here and talked about this massive churn of players coming in and out, and it didn't feel like that at all. Like a team that's just been thrown together and lost half its key players, like over the last 3 weeks.
No, it certainly didn't. I mean, obviously they've had a couple of weeks to work on stuff, but these are players who haven't actually played together that much. But we saw it when Company first took over, didn't we? He hit the ground running. I mean, it took that team a little bit of time to gel a little bit. There were a lot of draws in that early part of that season, weren't there? But it is really impressive to see that. But they're professional footballers, and with a professional coach, they've had 2 weeks on the grass working on this stuff together. If they can't do that, then we're gonna be struggling, aren't we? But I thought it was a good performance, and I thought it was impressive in that way. But I also have some fairly obvious concerns about our ability to keep hold of the ball. I thought we weren't good with it in possession at all. We gave it away far too much, and it wasn't just the players that you mentioned. I think everybody was guilty of inviting too much pressure. I know, particularly in the second half, it was very, very difficult for them to keep hold of the ball. And really, that only changed when Josh Cullen came on for Hannibal, and he was able to just sort of get everybody a little bit calmer, a little bit more organised, and was able to, find Burnley players a little bit more than we had done earlier on. I think that's what really settled the nerves in that last sort of that period of the game where they were. I mean, to be fair, they were knocking on the door. I know they didn't really create that much in by way of proper chances, but I that was one of those games where if it had been last season, we would have just conceded 2 goals in the last 10 minutes and lost it. We would have just crumbled. We would have just lost our concentration, and daft mistakes would have crept in. And that, the fact that didn't happen, I think is obviously a really good sign. But let's not get carried away. We're very, very early in the season. Things can still go badly wrong. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to see that side do, which we don't know yet, really, is how well that group of players can do against the teams who will come to Turf Moor and put 10 men behind the ball and come for a point against the team that's at the top of the league. And
do what we did, in other words.
Yeah. How good will we be at breaking down, a deep lying defence and, You like to think we've got the players to do that, but Chris, that's going to be a question that comes up. Maybe not against Portsmouth next week, I don't know, but in those sort of home games, that's going to be the next test, isn't it?
Well, we had that against Blackburn, didn't we?
Mm.
But bar an absolute worldie, and they're still going on about this disallowed goal, aren't they? But it was, they found a way to craft a fabulous goal. Something out of the ordinary. Back heel from Brownhill, a glorious cross, and Foster's evaded the centre halves, that sort of thing. But when they were down to 10. There were no sort of clear-cut chances carved out. And it is tough when teams are banked in like that and have something to hold on to. But you need to try and nick an early goal, ideally. But we don't really know yet. We don't. Portsmouth have gone to Leeds and scored 3 times, so I don't know. What sort of way they'll attack the game, really. But it's like you go back to the start of Company's reign, and teams were sort of quite nervous about coming to Turf Moor, even though they haven't got a clue what we would look like, really, because it was just 14, 15, 16 new faces, basically. They gave us respect before we'd earned it, for my money. But whether teams want to, that's it. If Portsmouth can go to Elland Road on the opening day and do what they did, then all power to them. I don't think they'll be sort of banking in, really. But you look at so many teams now, so they're devastating on the counter. Blackburn had, he had a late opening, didn't they, on the counter as well, even with 10 men. So you have to be able to offer that. But in fact, at least Burnley have got that. You almost want to invite teams onto you, then you can hit them with the pace of Koleosho and Anthony. Yeah.
So let's finish off with man of the match. Yeah, we don't want to pick out individuals, we said, so let's pick out individuals. I'll go first on this one because I do think one thing that should be mentioned, that finish from Koleosho, in absolute contrast to the earlier opportunity that Leeds United had. He's gone all that way on that run at full speed, constantly checking his options, and then delivers such an ice-cool finish at speed. I thought that was outstanding for him, really. One of the most impressive things he's done in a Burnley shirt, I think, was that goal. Because we know he's quick, but to show that composure at the end. So I'm going to give Luka Koleosho man of the match. Woody?
I'll be obvious and I'll go with Trafford. Purely and simply for the fact that it was his best game in a Burnley shirt, and he really didn't put a foot wrong at all.
Fair comment, Justin.
Well, I think Woody's probably right, but I've got to give an honourable mention to Hannibal for what he did when he was off the pitch rather than when he was on it. He gets my vote.
With shit out bonus points that weren't there. Chris, your man of the match?
Well, I really like that. That was the one question mark that we sort of raised about Koleosho last year, was his decision making and his end product. And as you say there, he's not sort of slowing down at any stage. He's going full tilt towards goal. His head's he's scanning his options. And he's steered that calm as you like, and we need to see more of that. He's, ultimately he's decided the game, hasn't he? But you can't look any further than Trafford, and give him his due. That'll be a memorable day, and one of the best days of his young career, I dare say. The level he's playing at, and fair play to him. But at least he's not. He's been asked to do what he's been asked to do by Vincent, and you look at the Bolton. Is it the fourth goal that Bolton conceded yesterday?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
they're still. You can see what he's been asked to do there as well. And like I say, now he can play out if it's sensible to play out. He can get rid if it's the right thing to do. He's not got this sort of the philosophy tag hanging over his head, and he looks better for it.
There were a few Joe Worrell Rose Ed clearances, weren't there, in that game? I thought that would never have happened last season, would it? He would have played that straight into trouble.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was the one where was it first half and Aronson gets into the box, and Worrell nicks it off him, and he not just nicks it off him, he absolutely checks him out. He lays one on him as well, and like I say, we've been missing that. We need to be horrible at times, and we just haven't been. So it's, if you've got the ability, like we have, it's great to have a bit of nast as well.
Yeah, I think we're all really basking in that sort of aura of shithousery that's returned to Burnley this week, and that sort of bit of fight and grit that wasn't there last year. It's good to see it back. Portsmouth up next week. We'll be back before then with another podcast. Until then, please don't forget to subscribe and leave reviews and ratings, and follow us on @BHolePodcast on Twitter. And until then, up the Clarets.